Community psychology in India is my topic today. After I finish my topic, you will know the various issues of community psychology in India, learn the goals of community psychology, evaluate the programs started for community health and well-being in India, and also analyze the problems faced by community psychologists who are working in India. Let me give you an orientation about community psychology. Community refers to a set of social relations based on something which the participants have in common, usually a sense of identity. Communities are social systems that serve to meet human needs. Therefore, community psychology can be defined as understanding the needs of people and the resources available to meet those needs. Understanding a community helps community to focus on formulating interventions that provide opportunities for optimum growth of its people, because a lack of resources can have a negative impact on their mental health. Community is a group of people who live in a geographical area and have an interest in each other for the purpose of making a living. Development connotes growth or maturation. It implies gradual and sequential phases of change. It refers to the upward or increasing differentiation. Moving on to community development. Community development is a movement designed to promote better living for the community with the active participation and or the initiative at the community. It is a method by which people of villages are involved in helping to improve their own economic and social conditions, and thereby they become more effective groups in programs of their national development. It is a process of change by which people's efforts are united with those of group authorities to improve their economic, social, cultural conditions of the communities into the life of the nation and to enable them to contribute fully to national programs. Let's move on to genesis of community development program. Based on the experiences within the country and abroad, the recommendations of the Fiscal Commission of 1949 and the Grow More Food Inquiry Committee of 1952, the Community Development Program was launched on October 2nd, 1952, the birthday of Mahatma Gandhi. At the initial stage in 1952, there were 55 community projects in 3 blocks. Each of the community development project covered an area of about 450 to 500 square miles with about 300 villages and a population of about 2 lakhs. Each project area had been divided into 3 development blocks. A development block consisted of about 100 villages and about 150 to 170 square miles and a population of about 60 to 70,000. Now each block was further divided into groups of 5 to 10 villages each. Each such group formed the area of operation for a village level worker, who is also known as a Gram Sevak, who are the basic level extension functionary in the community development programs. The need for rapid extension of the program to other parts of the country led to the National Extension Service (NES) alongside the CDP on October 2nd, 1953, covering the entire country within a period of 10 years. In 1957, the Balwant Roy Mehta team recommended the establishment of statutory elective of local leaders, that is the Panchayat Raj institutions, which include the village panchayat, panchayat union and District Development Council. This program laid emphasis on all-round development of the whole community with special emphasis on weaker and underprivileged sections through the use of area development, self-help and integrated approaches. The CDP, however, could not bring expected changes in improving the conditions of the rural masses, or there was not much development in the area of agricultural development. Let me tell you about the objectives of community development in India. The fundamental or basic objective of community development in India is the development of people, of destination man. Its broad objectives are: number 1, economic development; 2, social justice; 3, democratic growth. The attempt is to secure as good a balance as possible among these 3 objectives and to interrelate them in a manner that they support one another. More specifically, objectives of the community development program are: 1, to assist each village in having effective panchayats, cooperatives and schools. 2, through these village institutions, plan and carry out integrated multi-phase family, village, block and district, increasing agricultural production, improving existing village crafts and industries and organizing new ones, providing minimum essential health services with improving health practices, providing required educational facilities for children and an adult education program, providing recreational facilities and programs, improving housing and family living conditions, and finally providing programs for village women and youth. Let me tell you about the different approaches to community development. There are numerous overlapping approaches to community development. Some focus on the processes, others focus on the outcomes or the objectives. Now these include: firstly, women's self-help group, focusing on the contribution of women in settlement groups. Secondly, the community capacity building, which is focusing on helping communities obtain, strengthen and maintain the ability to set and achieve their own development objectives. Then is social capital formation, which is focusing on benefits derived from the cooperation between individuals and the groups. Next is sustainable development, which seeks to achieve in a balanced manner economic development, social development, environmental protection outcomes. Sustainable development is the organizing principle for sustaining finite sources necessary to provide for the needs of future generations of life on the planet. It's a process that envisions a desirable future state for human societies in which living conditions and resource use continue to meet human needs without undermining the integrity, stability and beauty of natural biotic systems. Next is community organizing. This is a term which is used to describe an approach that generally assumes that social change necessarily involves conflict and social struggle in order to generate collective power for the powerless. Moving on to community-based participatory research, which is also known as CBPR. It's a partnership approach to research that equitably involves, for example, the community members, organizational representatives, and researchers in all aspects of research process, and in which all partners contribute expertise and share decision making and ownership, which aims to integrate this knowledge with community development outcomes. Next is participatory planning, including community-based planning. involving the entire community in the strategic and management processes of urban planning or community level planning, urban or rural. Now I will tell you about the goals of community psychology in India. In India, the major focus of community psychology has been social change and development. Professor Durganand Sinha, who is also known as the father of India's community psychology movement, made a classic analysis of the Community Development Program CDP in his book entitled Indian Villages in Transition in 1969. He said that CDP had to be designed in a way keeping in mind the human factors in social change. He drew a new structure of the villages. Focus on the development program has been on social change in the village community. The strategy adopted in planning social change interventions were to provide technological and infrastructural support to rural folks with the hope that these modern technologies will bring about a rapid rural change. Durganand Sinha reports that the vast majority of rural people lack the urge for growth and they are lethargic and indifferent to material progress. The perceived basic needs are primarily food, clothing and shelter. The Community Psychology Association of India (CPAI) was founded in 1987 at the Lucknow University with the aim of serving the communities. The Indian Journal of Community Psychology was started in 2004, which documents researches in the area of community psychology. There is a strong need for action research and community participation in defining development and defining relations between institutions and people to plan strategies for national development. Let me now talk to you about the history of community psychology in India. Let's begin by the rise of community psychology. In India, the concept of community psychology emerged as a reaction to hospitalization model of treating mental health problems. There were very few institutions which provided training to the mental health professionals. The rise in the population of people suffering from mental illness forced the Indian government to look into the matter. The Bhore Committee in 1946, headed by Joseph Bhore, which led to a major change in the national health policy by emphasizing focus on prevention, education and community integration. The committee emphasized on having trained professionals, greater manpower, better hospitals and rehabilitation strategies. Dr. Vidyasagar in 1971 involved families in the treatment of patients during 1950s. Psychologists in India now understood the need to focus on sources which result in community problems and that change in the social system can provide with solutions. Solutions which involve the use of resources of the community. Sometimes people can find the relations between the people of the community to be stressful. Now in such a situation, it is necessary to provide psychological skills to promote healthy interpersonal relations that are both rewarding and satisfying. Hence, there is a need to understand etiology of community issues and to focus on the forces acting upon and within the community. Let me tell you about the work in the field of community psychology in India. Firstly, I will tell you about the writings. Books such as Working with Communities and Introduction to Community Work was written by H.Y. Siddiqui in 1997, which focuses on community work and organizations. National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration (NIPA) in New Delhi organized seminar on community participation and empowerment in primary education in India. The seminar highlighted the attempts of the states and their experiences in incorporating participation in education. Moving on to community programs. A STD HIV intervention program in Kolkata led to the formation of an association of sex workers over there. They trained a few sex workers and educated them about HIV and AIDS. They were explained that to protect their health and fight against the injustices they suffered from the society and the demand for legitimate rights, sex workers had to form an association of their own. The activation of sex workers, the intervention program, was an important factor in the success of the program. Hence, participation of members of a community is very important for its success. Women especially are essential agents of change, and hence women participation is also very important in the success of any program. Sonalkar in 1975 has cited the case of some Adivasi women who had acted to banish alcoholism from their village. Similarly, a field study by Focus on the study under 6 found that Infant and Child Development Scheme ICDS is more successful in Tamil Nadu and other states because of women participation there. Other programs where women have been involved are Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan and Mother Teacher Abhiyan. Work in the area of community psychology has involved both governmental and non-governmental organizations. Dr. Koyaji, in his book Reaching India's Poor, Non-Governmental Approaches to Community Health, says that if practitioners can motivate families to participate in identifying problems, defining solutions, and implementing programs, the aim of improving their quality of life will be successful. Next, I will talk to you about community planning. When people are involved in shaping their local surroundings, the benefits can include: 1. Additional resources. Governments rarely have sufficient means to solve all the problems in an area. Local people can bring additional resources which are often essential if their needs are to be met and their dreams are to be fulfilled. Number 2 are better decisions. Local people are invariably the best source of knowledge and wisdom about their surroundings. Better decision making results if this is harnessed. Next is building the community. The process of working together and achieving things together creates a sense of community. The fourth point is compliance with legislation. Community involvement is often and increasingly a statutory requirement. Nextly is democratic credibility. Community involvement in planning accords with people's right to participate in decisions that affect their lives. It is an important part of the trend towards democratization of all aspects of the society. The next point is easier fundraising. Many grant-making organizations prefer or even require community involvement to have occurred before handing out financial assistance. The seventh point is that of empowerment, which means involvement builds local people's confidence, capabilities, skills, and ability to cooperate. This enables them to tackle other challenges both individually and collectively. The next point is more appropriate results. Design solutions are more likely to be in tune with what is needed and wanted. Involvement allows proposals to be tested and refined before adoption, resulting in better use of resources. The next point is professional education. Working closely with local people helps professionals gain a greater insight into the communities they seek to serve. So, they work more effectively and produce better results. The next point is responsive environment. The environment can more easily be constantly tuned and refined to cater for people's changing requirements. Nextly, satisfying public demand. People want to be involved in shaping their environment and mostly seem to enjoy it. The next point is speedier development. People gain a better understanding of the options realistically available and are likely to start thinking positively rather than negatively. Time wasting conflicts can often be avoided. And lastly is the point of sustainability. People feel more attached to an environment they helped create. So they will therefore manage and maintain it better, reducing the likelihood of vandalism, neglect, and the subsequent need for costly replacement. Let's go on to the next topic, and which is mental health work. Community-based research has the ability to change policies and resources. In the Bhopal gas tragedy, mental health professionals, psychiatrists, social workers, and clinical psychologists have contributed to the current awareness of psychological aspects of disasters. Their work encouraged a change in the attitude of the administrators by presenting video recording of the interviews of psychological distress. Though problems might pose when health professionals are mobilized in an area where the affected population speaks a different language and has different cultural beliefs and practice. However, mental health programs have recognized the need to share the skills with health workers, volunteers, and doctors for managing psychological impact of disaster, and they have gone on to prepare information booklets and manuals. Let me summarize what I have taught you. The emergence of community psychology in India is seen as a need felt by a certain segment of psychologists to apply the principles of psychology to resolve community problems. The historical roots of community psychology lie in mental health. Community development planning consists of a public participatory and usually interactive form of town or neighborhood planning and designs in which diverse community members, often termed as the stakeholders, contribute towards formulation of goals, objectives, planning, fund and resource identification and direction, planned project implementations and revaluations of documented local planning policy. It is a logical bottom-up evolution. Regional, city and urban planning in an area of plateaued or diminishing public resources, increasing local burdens and responsibilities, and public or group activism. It often promotes public or private partnership as a means to harness physical development activities in support of community defined goals. At a minimum, it seeks community consensus for proposed allocation of scarce resources among competing demands. In more vigorous application, community members assess a full gamut of planning tools, shaping and being shaped by shared understanding of a complex community information base, directly informing and guiding local plan content, influencing resulting development budgets, projects, and thus future infrastructure and land uses, as well as helping coordinate the work of overlapping jurisdictions, levels of government, internal and adjacent communities, and various providers such as the associations, utilities, and schools. For community development programs to be successful, motivation and participation of community members is essential. Community psychology is expected to take a multidisciplinary approach by linking psychology with community mental health, health promotion, organizational change, and community development.